16 January 1993. Thousands of Buddhist monks and lay followers headed to Wat Nong Pong, อำเภอวารินชำราบ อุบลราชธานี Province, Thailand. The Supreme Patriarch, สมเด็จพระญาณสังวร and many senior Buddhist monks gathered here, along with the Prime Minister, Ministers of State, and other important figures. His Majesty King Bhumibol Adulyadej and Her Majesty Queen Sirikit arrived at Wat Nong Pong at 4:19 p.m. Monarchs, Buddhist monks, and devoted followers gathered at the Phra Phothiyan Jedi, the memorial stupa of the Master Phra Phothiyan Then, Venerable Ajahn Chah, on his cremation day. Who was Ajahn Chah? What significance did this monk from northeast Thailand hold for Buddhists in Thailand and from around the world to draw such multitudes to this location? Ajahn Chah was born in a prosperous family, but he chose to relinquish his worldly possessions to walk the path of Dhamma. Although Ajahn Chah could barely speak English, he had many foreign disciples. Ajahn Chah spent most of his life in his native northeastern Thailand, but he influenced the establishment of branch monasteries across the world. Ajahn Chah was impeccably strict around moral precepts, monastic observances, and mind meditation, yet his good humor shone forth for all to see. Although Ajahn Chah was abounding in loving kindness, his disciples recount that at times he could be as fierce as a tiger. Ajahn Chah passed away 25 years ago, yet many people still study about his life and gain new perspectives on living. How did Ajahn Chah live his life? What aspects of his life offer inspiration to people today? Venerable Ajahn Chah Subhado was born in 1918 in a small village in Warin Chamrab, Ubon Ratchathani. As a boy, Chah was convivial, good-natured, and endowed with leadership qualities. He was rarely quarrelsome. Rather, he acted as a mediator when his friends were in conflict or dispute. Chah's family was considered wealthy. As a child, he went to school during the day and helped his family with household chores. For example, looking after the buffalo and tending to the tobacco plantation. Ajahn Chah once recounted that as a child, he liked to pretend to be a monk. He would don a loincloth as a robe and play the role of an abbot. His friends would pretend to be lay people, offering him food while he gave them the precepts and a blessing. Attracted to the monastic life, when he was 9 years old, Chah asked his parents for permission to live in the monastery. At the age of 13, he took ordination as a novice. Cha spent 3 years as a novice. He then left the monastery and resumed the lay life. Apart from helping with his family's farm work, Cha lived life as other young men. He traveled about, dated girls, fell in love, and experienced a broken heart.
สัญชาตญาณของความรักมันก็ต้องมีกับเพศอย่างเพศชายก็ต้องมีความรู้สึกกับเพศหญิงมันก็เป็นอย่างนั้นเป็นกระแสของชีวิตจะต้องมีการเรียนรู้
To the delight of his parents, Cha took higher ordination as a bhikkhu at the age of 21. Because of his disenchantment with the world and his innate interest in Buddhism, Bhikkhu Cha had no inclination to disrobe after the rains, as was the case with most of the other young men who had been ordained at the same time. After 7 years of formal Dhamma study, during which time Bhikkhu Cha passed the top-level Naktam exams, gained enough proficiency to translate scriptures, and had provided religious education to the novices. He set out wandering on Tudong, life as an itinerant monk, considering that study of scripture on its own is not the path to freedom from suffering, and that the Buddha wouldn't have wanted monks to engage solely in formal study. He began to apply himself to meditation practice. Bhikkhu Cha, together with his Dhamma companions, walked long distances in search of an opportunity to practice insight meditation with various meditation masters. The number of his fellow pilgrims were variable, depending on various conditions, as they wandered long distances through remote areas. As a young man, Cha had been terrified of ghosts. Meditating in secluded charnel grounds was thus a serious challenge for him to overcome his fear and gain clear insight into life and death. Another important lesson was enduring frequent sickness and extreme physical hardship during his wanderings.
ป่าช้าต้องมีสิ่งลึกลับมีผีมีอะไรทำนองนั้นมีความเงียบความสงัดแล้วก็มีความรู้สึกกลัวขึ้นมาความกลัวมันเกิดขึ้นท่านก็ถามว่ามันกลัวอะไรถ้ามันกลัวตายแล้วมันตายอยู่ที่ไหนแล้วมันก็จะตอบออกมาว่าตายมันก็มีอยู่ที่เรานี่แหละแล้วจะหนีไปไหนมันก็ถามอย่างนั้นดิมันก็คงจะได้คำตอบออกมา
Paccattang vetitappo vinyuhi, to be experienced individually by the wise. The profound knowledge arising from Ajahn Chah's meditation practice is an individual experience. It is not something that can be accurately put into words. But when teaching his disciples, Ajahn Chah would openly describe the passions and problems that he himself had encountered. This was a way of offering encouragement by pointing out how everyone must face spiritual challenges. He confessed that, even after being a monk for many years, lust continued to be a serious obstacle with which he had to actively combat. After 16 years of being a monk, upon invitation by his mother and other relatives, Bhikkhu Cha returned to his home village. The thick and dense Pong forest was located about 3 kilometers away from Phra Cha's home village. Phra Cha brought his group of monks here to set up their forest umbrellas in March 1954. This was the starting point of Wat Nong Pong, a monastery originally located in a wild and remote place, yet later became internationally renowned.
วัดหนองบัวพงเขาก็บอกว่าเป็นพื้นที่หวาดเสียวเป็นพื้นที่ที่มีอันตรายเขาก็พูดอย่างนั้นแต่ความจริงคนเราไม่คุ้นเคยมันก็อาจจะคิดอย่างนั้นไปเป็นธรรมดาแต่ในรูปแบบของความรู้สึกอาตมาแล้วป่าให้ความอบอุ่นเห็นต้นไม้เกิดความอบอุ่นเหมือนกับเพื่อนเหมือนเรามีที่พึ่งแต่หลวงปู่อาจจะคิดอย่างนั้นก็ได้ท่านจึงเห็นว่าป่ามันเป็นที่อยู่ของพระสงฆ์เป็นพื้นที่เหมาะสำหรับการเจริญสมณธรรมและก็การประกาศธรรมด้วย
It now takes approximately 20 minutes to travel to Wat Nong Pa Pong from the district town of Warin Chamrab. But in the past, this place was far from civilization. There were no paved roads, electricity, or municipal water supply. The practices of itinerant meditation monks were largely unknown to the general public. Sometimes they were even viewed with fear and suspicion. The living conditions at Wat Nong Pa Pong were thus difficult and austere. Of all the meditation masters that he visited and studied with, Ajahn Chah recounted that it was the eminent monk, Ajahn Man Puritatto, who pointed out the way of practice, dispelling all his doubts. The style of practice at Wat Nong Pa Pong conformed to the monasteries of Ajahn Man. At the same time, it had characteristics unique to Ajahn Chah.
When he established Wat Pa Pong, it was established on the kind of style of Luang Pu Man. But the thing that Luang Pu Chah emphasized over and over again at Wat Pa Pong was this sense of samakhi, of working together, where Luang Pu Man was more or less like monks would come and go off on tudong separately, where we had to do everything together. We had to sweep the monastery, we had to carry water together, had to meet together in the morning for puja, in the evening for puja, patimokkha every fortnight, and everybody was expected to participate. And this sense of samakhi.
Ajahn Chah set up a monastery guideline in strict accordance with the Vinaya. He emphasized mindfulness, the abandonment of fixed views, and the cultivation of wisdom. There were few rituals and much meditation practice. The monks would sleep little and eat simply. There was no making of amulets or soliciting of donations. The name and reputation of Ajahn Chah and Wat Nong Pa Pong gradually became well known and respected. Ajahn Chah trained his monks strictly, emphasizing spiritual practice, the threefold training, and a study of the monastic discipline. Yet many photographs of him give the impression that he was good-natured and even playful.
ความจริงก็ไม่ขันแต่มันเป็นกิริยาของผู้ที่จะชักจูงคนต้องแสดงออกในลักษณะกิริยามากกว่าแต่มันไม่ใช่อารมณ์ขัน แต่คนก็พูดว่าเขาชอบอย่างนั้นเขาเลยว่าอารมณ์ขันทำนองนี้นะ
He had a lot of kind of charisma. His personality was very outgoing and friendly. You know, he was something that was, he could tune into people's needs very quickly. You know, you were drawn to him.
ความจริงนะท่านก็มีเมตตาความหวังดีอยากช่วยน้องนี้นะเหมือนบางอย่างมาแล้วท่านจะเหมือนกับดุบอกว่ามันควรที่จะเปลี่ยนเขาบ้างดูแล้วก็มีความหวังดีอยู่อาตมามีความรู้สึกว่าท่านให้ความเคารพต่อพระวินัยทุกสิกขาหมดจะไม่ให้ความรู้สึกบกพร่องผิดพลาดท่านก็ย้ำของท่านอยู่ตลอดถ้าทำอย่างนั้นอย่ามาอยู่กับผมถ้าพูดอย่างนั้นนะ จะว่าดุก็ไม่ใช่
Some monks say he was very fierce, he could be quite stern. I would put it more in the English sense of being stern. I never felt he was angry in some kind of losing his mindfulness. But I think he could be very strict, very stern. And I appreciated that, So I never felt, even when he would scold me or correct me, I never suspected it was just from being in a bad mood. It had a point to it. He was using it to help me rather than just to letting a kind of emotion take him over.
The number of Wat Nong Pa Pong branch monasteries gradually increased in every region of the country. At the same time, although Ajahn Chah could speak almost no English, his distinct style of practice of speak little, focus on the mind, attracted the interest of foreigners devoted to studying Buddhism.
During that time, people have asked about how could you learn when you had no common language. And Luang Por Chah was always saying it's just a matter of training, of learning, because the Dhamma isn't about language, isn't dependent upon language. It's about action and speech and right attitude and being mindful, being aware.
Ajahn Chah's practice is a testament to people's spiritual potential in the present time. When people practice well, practice uprightly, practice with integrity, and practice appropriately, according to the way revealed and declared by the Buddha, path and fruit is proven to not be obsolete. Realization is immediate, verifiable, and manifest. These truths are universal. They are attainable to all people, regardless of race, language, or culture.
ส่วนมากท่านก็ทำให้ดูท่านจะนอนน้อยและความอดทนก็มากเพราะท่านฝึกมาแล้วทำนองนี้เกิดความชำนาญแล้วในเรื่องนี้ไม่ยุ่งยากไม่ลำบากทำงานก็เหมือนกันไม่เคยเห็นว่าท่านบอกให้หยุดงานทำนองนี้นะทำกิจวัตรแต่ท่านไม่เรียกว่างานหรอกท่านเราเรียกกิจวัตรอันใดที่มันเป็นประโยชน์ต่อการเป็นอยู่นั่นก็ให้ทำก็นำพาด้วยเวลากลางคืนมาตี 3ท่านให้รู้จักการพักผ่อนหลับนอนมันก็ได้ความเข้มแข็งมีความรู้สึกหนักแน่นถ้าเกิดความเคยตี 3เป็นเรื่องธรรมดาวันพระท่านก็บอกว่าต้องไม่นอนถ้าคนที่มีความคุ้นเคยมันเป็นเรื่องธรรมดานอนก็ได้ไม่นอนก็ได้มันเป็นเรื่องธรรมดาอย่างนั้นนี่เป็นลักษณะของธุดงค์กติกาก็คือธุดงค์นี่แหละ
Just from my impressions, his way of teaching was very direct and simple. Buddhism can sound very complicated. In so many ways, Buddhism is taught through propriety, through customs, through various teachings that sound to Westerners very complicated, and at first they don't comprehend what all that means. Like Four Noble Truths, which is a simple enough teaching, but nobody in the West have ever taught the truth of suffering. So there's a lot of doubt about that.
More and more foreigners were attracted by Ajahn Chah's way of teaching. He was later invited by a Buddhist organization in England to give teachings in London.
He was beyond culture, he had the wisdom to adapt to any kind of situation. And that's what was so impressive, because it wasn't like he was just a Thai cultural paragon. He was also just a developed human being, a wise human being, that one could sense that even if you weren't Thai or couldn't understand Thai language. he understood the world, understood Dhamma. So the world, whether it was in the context of Thailand or England, didn't really make that much difference, because he was teaching a universal teaching rather than just a cultural one. And that's why attracted so many foreigners, why there's so many Praparang in Thailand and in the Western world at this time.
At present, foreigners in many countries have the opportunity to practice and develop themselves following the Buddhist teachings at Wat Nong Pa Pong branch monasteries that have sprung up and prospered around the world. All of this started at a modest monastery in northeastern Thailand by a Buddhist monk who took no delight in material gain, abandoned his worldly possessions, and accumulated noble treasure in line with monastic discipline. He then shared this wealth with his fellow human beings. Ajahn Chah possessed the marvel of instruction. His teachings were authentic. He has led people to see the truth. By following his teachings, his disciples have garnered the genuine fruits of spiritual practice. Examining Ajahn Chah's life, practice, and teachings, we see a life full of learning, determined effort, and experimentation culminating in realization. We also witness a life of simplicity, contentment, kindness, and purity, free from distress and anxiety. His life was focused on benefiting other people and everything around him. Ajahn Chah's teachings are like a lantern illuminating the entire world. This stands in contrast to his body, which aged and withered according to the natural law of transience and change. This was another truth he revealed through his silent teaching he gave for almost a decade.
อาตมาว่าหลวงพ่อชาท่านมีความรู้สึกบริสุทธิ์พูดอย่างนั้นทุกอย่างท่านจะอยู่อย่างเรียกว่าไม่ให้มีส่วนบกพร่องแม้กระทั่งชีวิตตอนที่ท่านจะมรณภาพร่างกายสังขารใช้มานานมันก็ทรุดโทรมมันก็เสื่อมสภาพเราก็ดูแลรักษากันไปก็ไม่มีอะไรมากแค่นั้น
He's an inspiring figure, and he's a modern person, so it's not like when you're talking about the Buddha, you're talking almost like a mythical person, someone from the past. But in terms of my experience, this was I knew him personally, lived with him. So you can see, that this is possible, for all of us. Enlightenment or seeing clearly and being free from delusion is a reality in the present. It's not just some ideal that that might happen or that
Phra Phothiyan Thén, Ajahn Chah, passed away peacefully before dawn on 16th January 1992. His flesh decayed according to the laws of nature, but his life account and his virtues have lived on for a quarter of a century in the form of his teachings and style of practice, consonant with the ideals of a disciple of the Buddha. This was the Dhamma legacy left behind by Ajahn Chah, an illustrious monk of the present era.
ญาติโยมทั้งหลายที่มาบำเพ็ญบุญบำเพ็ญกุศลในวันนี้หรือทุกวันที่ไหนก็ตามให้โยมระลึกถึงคุณพระพุทธเจ้าระลึกถึงคุณพระพุทธเจ้านั้นระลึกยังไงว่าพระพุทธเจ้าท่านทำยังไงท่านพูดยังไงท่านสอนยังไงก็ระลึกถึงคุณท่านเราก็รู้จักคุณของท่านแล้วเราก็ปฏิบัติตามธรรมะคำสอนของท่านนั้นก็เรียกว่าเราปฏิบัติตามธรรมะ เมื่อเราปฏิบัติเข้าไปใกล้ธรรมะเราก็เข้าใกล้พระพุทธเจ้าเมื่อเราเห็นธรรมะเราก็เห็นพระพุทธเจ้า